Imagine achieving worldwide fame, selling millions of records, and becoming a household name, only to have your greatest legacy overshadowed by heartbreak. You couldn't name a single 1940s or 1950s performer who wasn't influenced by Bing Crosby's music. His voice defined an era, his charm captivated millions, and his success seemed boundless. But behind the allure of fame and fortune lurked a dark and tragic reality, one that would haunt his family for generations. The suicides of his sons raised chilling questions. What led them to such despair? How significant was Bing Crosby's shocking confession in the years that followed? The glitz and glamour of Hollywood often concealed deep, painful secrets, and Crosby's life was no exception. Join us as we uncover the heartbreaking story of the two sons of Bing Crosby who took their own lives, the devastating revelations that came after, and the hidden pain behind the legend. What were these confessions too unbearable to hear? And how did they shape the fate of his family? Back in 1906, the story of Bing Crosby took root in the Pacific Northwest. A gifted American named Harry Lillis Bing Crosby Jr. arrived in this world on May 3, 1903. His talent spanned multiple fields. He sang, acted, produced, hosted on radio, and ventured into business. His father, Harry Lowe Crosby, worked as a bookkeeper and originally hailed from England, born in 1871 and passing away in 1950. Meanwhile, his mother, Catherine Harrigan, was the daughter of a builder from County Mayo, Ireland, born in 1873 and living until 1964 as an Irish American. Growing up as the fourth of 7 siblings, Bing Crosby was raised in a house built by his father. In 1906, his family set out for better opportunities, moving to Spokane, Washington. At just 6 years old, young Harry Lillis Crosby became a fan of a humorous newspaper column called the Bingville Bugle. A neighbor who also enjoyed the paper nicknamed him Bingo, and over time, the moniker was shortened to Bing, a name that would stay with him forever. During the summer of 1917, Crosby took a job as a property boy at Spokane's auditorium, where he got the chance to watch legendary entertainers like Al Jolson, who left a lasting impression on him. Despite later downplaying his influence, Crosby became one of the most impactful musicians of the 20th century and the first true multimedia superstar. At the age of 3, his family uprooted themselves and settled in a town known for mining and lumber industries. His father, Harry, who was an accountant, owned one of the earliest record players in Spokane, exposing young Bing to the music of greats like Al Jolson. When Bing enrolled at Gonzaga University, he had already earned his famous nickname from a childhood friend. His time there saw him excel in athletics and public speaking, even though his strict Jesuit education placed a heavy emphasis on discipline. He thrived in debate, developed a strong love for language, and showed remarkable skill in elocution. After briefly attending law school at Gonzaga, Bing decided to follow his love for music, teaming up with pianist Al Rinker to form a local band. Though his early career was rocky and he was notorious for being unreliable due to his jazz-age lifestyle, his natural charm and raw talent eventually set him apart. He also developed a famous yet competitive friendship with Bob Hope, which led to the iconic Road to Film series. In 1926, while performing at Los Angeles Metropolitan Theater, Crosby caught the attention of renowned bandleader Paul Whiteman, along with his singing partner Al Rinker, with whom he had collaborated since their Spokane days. He made his debut at Chicago's Tivoli Theater on December 6, 1926, earning a weekly salary of $150. Even before Whiteman recruited them, Crosby and Rinker had already made a name for themselves. When pianist and budding lyricist Harry Barris joined them, the trio became known as the Rhythm Boys. The group worked with celebrated musicians such as Mildred Bailey, Hoagy Carmichael, Eddie Lang, Jack Teagarden, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, and Bix Beiderbecke. In 1928, Crosby achieved his first #1 hit, a jazz-influenced rendition of Old Man River. His growing prominence caused tensions within the Rhythm Boys, and the group eventually parted ways with Whiteman, later joining Gus Arnheim's orchestra. As soon as Crosby signed with Brunswick, the other Rhythm Boys found themselves pushed into the background. Disagreements within the group eventually led to its breakup, opening the door for Bing to embark on a solo career. Songs like At Your Command, I Surrender Dear, and Wrap Your Troubles in Dreams became major hits, many of them composed by his former bandmate Harry Barris. Rising to stardom in the 1930s, Crosby established himself as one of America's most influential vocalists. By 1931, he had already secured a spot in 10 of the top 50 songs, either performing solo or collaborating with other artists. His impact extended into Hollywood, making a strong debut in 1932's The Big Broadcast, his first feature film. A significant career move followed in 1939 when he signed long-term contracts with Decca Records, Jack Kapp's newly established recording company. Around that period, Crosby stepped into the radio scene as a solo act, making his debut on a well-known CBS show alongside the Carl Fenton Orchestra. In 1936, he took over from his former boss, Paul Whiteman, as the host of NBC's weekly Kraft Music Hall, holding on to the position for the next 10 years. Many legendary singers, including Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, Dean Martin, Dick Haymes, John Lennon, and Elvis Presley, have credited Crosby with shaping their personal vocal styles. During a time of rapid advancements in recording technology, Yank magazine recognized Crosby as the most significant figure in uplifting the spirits of American troops stationed overseas during World War II. His influence extended beyond music, as evidenced by a 1948 poll naming him the most admired man in America, outshining figures like Jackie Robinson and Pope Pius XII. According to Music Digest, his recordings accounted for more than half of the 80,000 hours allocated to recorded radio music each week in the U.S. that year. Determined to enhance recording quality, Crosby took an interest in German tape recorder technology, which led to his financial backing of Ampex. This support resulted in the creation of the Ampex 200, the first tape recorder manufactured in the United States. Visionary musicians like Les Paul were thrilled by this breakthrough, which changed the music industry forever by introducing advanced editing and overdubbing techniques. Beyond his technological contributions, Crosby's mastery of the microphone helped him captivate audiences during live performances. His deep baritone voice and careful attention to lyrics resonated with listeners worldwide, further solidifying his legacy. His effortless transition between radio and film was another key element in the enduring success of his career. Despite his professional triumphs, Crosby's personal life was fraught with struggles, including battles with alcoholism and family turmoil. The relationship between him, his wife Dixie, and their children was complex, and opinions on his parenting style remained divided. When Dixie passed away in 1952, it left a profound mark on him, altering both his personal and professional path. Regardless of these difficulties, Crosby's artistic and technological innovations ensured his place in entertainment history. His work touched the lives of millions across the world, yet he remained a deeply private man who shared little about his true self. Even those closest to him, such as Phil Harris, admitted that they never fully understood him beyond his public persona. With his role in The Country Girl, Crosby showcased his ability to take on more serious acting challenges. The producers initially hesitated to cast him as the troubled character Frank Elgin, but he ultimately won over both critics and audiences alike. His portrayal silenced doubts and proved his versatility as a performer. As a radio personality during World War II, Crosby gained immense popularity for his rendition of Irving Berlin's White Christmas, a song that stirred deep emotions of nostalgia and comfort. Beyond entertainment, he indulged in various hobbies such as baseball and horse racing, while also making generous contributions to institutions like Gonzaga University. Despite his remarkable career, Crosby's role as a father was often questioned. His children, Dennis, Lindsay, and Gary Crosby, grew up in the glamorous world of Hollywood, but faced significant personal struggles. Their lives, marked by addiction and fractured relationships, offer insight into the hardships of growing up in the shadow of a legendary figure. Lindsay Crosby, born to Bing and Dixie Lee on January 5, 1934, in Los Angeles, California, was one of 4 children in the family. Unlike his father, Lindsay never achieved widespread fame, but he encountered many obstacles throughout his life. The pressure to uphold his father's celebrated legacy weighed heavily on him, much like it did on his siblings, Mary Frances and Gary. With his family's wealth and fame, Lindsay was raised in a privileged environment. His father, Bing Crosby, was renowned not just as a singer, but also as the star of timeless classics such as Going My Way and White Christmas, securing his place as an icon in the entertainment industry. The Crosby family enjoyed a life of luxury, yet behind the glamour, their personal struggles ran deep. Lindsay Crosby, much like his father, ventured into entertainment, appearing in films like The Big Night, 1951, and The Star and the Story, 1955. However, his career never reached the legendary heights of Bing Crosby's. Despite his best efforts, he grappled with personal demons, particularly alcohol addiction, a battle that would ultimately consume him. On December 11, 1989, at just 51, Lindsay Crosby tragically ended his own life. His passing was a painful reminder of the hidden turmoil he endured, leaving behind grieving loved ones and stunned admirers. His struggles were not unique within the Crosby family. His brothers also faced intense personal battles. Dennis Crosby, the second son of Bing and Dixie Lee, was born into a world of privilege in Los Angeles on July 13, 1934. Growing up in a household where fame was a constant presence, Dennis was exposed to the entertainment industry early on. With a smooth, captivating voice, he found success in Hollywood classics like Going My Way and White Christmas, films that defined an era. Despite his talent, Dennis lived under the towering legacy of his father, making it nearly impossible to carve out his own unique path in show business. He frequently appeared at public events and in family portraits, alongside his siblings Philip, Gary, and Mary Frances, yet the weight of expectation loomed over him. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Dennis took on various roles in both film and television, starring in The Night the World Exploded and The Purple Hills. He also made guest appearances on popular shows like The Red Skelton Hour and The Jack Benny Program. However, no matter how hard he tried, his career never reached the heights of his father's, and the pressure of living in Bing Crosby's shadow weighed heavily on him. His personal life was equally troubled. Like others in his family, Dennis struggled with alcoholism, a problem that plagued him for years. The burden became too much to bear, and on May 4, 1991, at the age of 56, he took his own life. Another heartbreaking chapter in the tragic history of the Crosby children. Gary Crosby, born Gary Evan Crosby on June 27, 1933, was the eldest son of Bing and Dixie Lee. From an early age, he had a deep connection to music and acting, following in his father's footsteps. Blessed with undeniable talent and an effortless charm, Gary captivated audiences with his smooth voice and stage presence. Unlike his siblings, however, Gary was more than just a performer. He was a voice for change. In an era when racial prejudice was still rampant, he used his platform to speak out against injustice, refusing to stay silent in the face of discrimination. This boldness set him apart, proving that his influence extended beyond music and entertainment. On stage, his performances were magnetic, drawing audiences into his world with every note. Yet despite his success, he remained humble, never allowing fame to cloud his judgment. He knew all too well that the spotlight could be both a blessing and a curse. Being the firstborn son of Bing Crosby came with immense privilege, but also enormous pressure. As the older brother to Lindsay, Philip, and Dennis, Gary witnessed firsthand the difficulties of growing up in the shadow of a Hollywood icon. Inspired by his father's success, he pursued a career in music and acting, making early appearances on The Bing Crosby Show, where his vocal talent first gained recognition. Even Bing himself understood the weight of responsibility that came with fame. In a 1941 speech to high school students, delivered just before the United States entered World War II, he emphasized the importance of their contributions to the future. His words reflected his own struggles, balancing stardom with personal duty, a battle that would define not just his life, but also the lives of his children. In 1946, Bing Crosby revolutionized the radio industry, defying NBC's strict ban on pre-recorded shows. Determined to have control over his broadcasts, he found a willing partner in ABC, a struggling network at the time. His move transformed ABC from an underdog into a major competitor, shifting the entire radio landscape. Soon, pre-recorded shows became the new standard as other celebrities followed his lead. Gary Crosby, Bing's son, made his Hollywood debut in 1957's Mr. Corey. His acting career extended into films like The Big Night, 1951, and The Night the World Exploded, 1957, along with guest spots on hit TV series such as Playhouse 90 and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Despite his ambitions, he struggled to escape his father's towering shadow. Though he pursued a music career releasing songs and albums, mainstream success remained elusive. But behind the glamour of the Crosby name lay a dark reality. In his 1983 memoir, Going My Own Way, Gary exposed the harsh upbringing he and his siblings endured. The world adored Bing Crosby's charming public persona, but at home, he was an entirely different man. Gary recounted relentless belt beatings, neglect, and emotional detachment. His father's heavy drinking further fractured the family, leaving lasting scars. The book also revealed the struggles of Gary's brothers, Dennis and Lindsay, who battled addiction and personal demons. While Dennis dismissed the memoir as Gary's version, he never denied its claims. Lindsay, however, fully supported Gary, relieved that the truth had finally been told. Gary Crosby never achieved his father's level of fame, but his story left an undeniable mark on Hollywood and pop culture. His candid revelations reshaped the public's perception of Bing Crosby, peeling back layers of fame to expose the painful realities of a fractured family. Tragically, Gary's own journey ended abruptly on August 24, 1995, at the age of 62. His legacy remains not just as an entertainer, but as a voice for those who lived in the shadow of fame's illusions. Lindsay's backing caught many off guard, considering he was thought to be Bing's favorite among the four. Meanwhile, other relatives and friends were shaken by Gary's public remarks. Bob Crosby, who led the band and was 69 years old, came to his brother Bing's defense, stating that he had no memory of anyone being physically harmed. Philip Crosby, whose full name was Philip Lang Crosby, came into the world on July 13, 1934, in Los Angeles, California. He was the eldest brother to Dennis and Lindsay Crosby. His well-known American parents were singer and actor Bing Crosby and his first wife, Dixie Lee. Being their first son, he was part of a large family that included his own 4 children, Mary Elizabeth, Dixie Lee, Flip, and Philip Crosby Jr. Additionally, he left behind 3 half-siblings, Harry, Mary Frances, and Nathaniel, from Bing's later marriage to Catherine Grant. Like his father, Philip Crosby pursued a career in entertainment, much like his siblings. Though he stayed in the show business world for quite some time, he never attained the same level of fame as his father. He played a younger version of Jim Hardy in Holiday Inn, 1942, a role that his father had originally portrayed. Alongside making guest appearances on television, Philip sometimes performed with his father on stage. When it came to hobbies, Philip Crosby never limited himself to just one thing. Over the years, he juggled multiple careers, working both as a stockbroker and a Marine. His last public performance took place at a Burbank Elks Club gathering in 1983. In an interview with People magazine, he shared that he had not performed in over a year at that point. By then, he had married 4 times, with 3 of his spouses being showgirls from Las Vegas. By 1980, Philip had been arrested multiple times for driving under the influence, despite undergoing an 18-month Alcoholics Anonymous program. However, he reassured the magazine that he had since given up drinking. During his college days, his father had a driver deliver a brand new Chevrolet to him. According to Chuck Morrell, a standout fullback who was Philip's roommate, he always maintained a connection to the entertainment world through his family. Despite experiencing a dynamic life, Philip Crosby, much like other members of the Crosby family, struggled with alcoholism and personal difficulties. These challenges had lasting effects on both his personal relationships and professional endeavors. Sadly, Philip Crosby passed away on January 13, 2004, at the age of 69. The loss of another Crosby sibling, who had spent a lifetime in the public eye due to their father's fame, was a heartbreaking moment for his loved ones and admirers. In a 1959 interview, Bing Crosby candidly admitted that he felt guilty about his parenting. He openly acknowledged that he wasn't the best father. Additionally, he believed he had failed his children by showering them with financial advantages while imposing strict discipline and hard work, all while not giving them enough quality time and emotional support. He even admitted that he and their mother had done their best, though it may not have been enough. During that period, Lindsay Crosby remained loyal to his father, stating that Bing had struggled deeply with the feeling of having disappointed them as a parent. Reading about his father's confession in an interview was incredibly painful for Lindsay. When Bing expressed that he simply wanted to provide his sons with a fraction of what his own father had given him, his frustration became even more evident. At 73 years old, Bing Crosby's life came to an end on October 14, 1977. Tragically, in 1989, Lindsay Crosby died by suicide, and just 2 years later, Dennis Crosby followed the same path. Then, in 1995, Gary Crosby succumbed to complications related to lung cancer.